Turn off the microphone. Hello, everybody. Here, Yeliz and Olga Mandodari. We're going to have a beautiful workshops in Istanbul very soon in April. And so we have some questions and answers prepared for you who is interested to participate or who maybe will become actually interested to participate in our workshops and lectures in Istanbul in April of this year. So first I would like to introduce Yeliz. She's an architect from Istanbul. And so we work together. We're preparing this event together. And it's going to be exciting and very interesting. And not only for professionals, but for anybody who's interested in healing designs and just to have a beautiful, comfortable home and peaceful. That's the most important. So I give the microphone to Yeliz, and she's going to introduce herself and talk about our workshop a little bit. And then we will go through answering questions she prepared. Okay, thank you. Yeliz.
Hello, everyone. I'm Yeliz. I'm from Istanbul, Turkey. I met my teacher, Mandodari, like 2 years ago through another teacher of mine in Istanbul from Hamza Saraswati. I'm an architect, and I have a master's degree also in design of architecture, and I've been working professionally for more than a decade on this. And because I'm into yoga and Vedanta and in the philosophy, I got interested in Vaastu Shastra also, which is the science of architecture. And I completed my education with dear Mandodari. And so I started translating her book, which is called Vaastu Shastra for Everyone. And so for this year, we arranged a series of workshops in Istanbul. So it's both going to be practical and theoretical. It's going to be on April. So she's going to arrive to Istanbul on 8th. And until the 25th of April, we'll have like several events. On 13th and 14th of April, we'll have a practical workshop, like full weekend workshop on Hariom Yoga Center. And also a part of the trilogy, we have one Aintram and one Vimana meditation workshops in Hara Yoga Vedanta Center on 18th and on 20th. We also have academic seminars which will take place on 18th on Studio X Istanbul for architects, for students, and for professors. And also one in Balıkesir, which is like an Aegean Mediterranean city of Turkey. So we expect all interested, and we'll have like a short interview like about what Vaastu Shastra is and what should we expect of these events and everything. So I give the microphone back to Mandodari.
So read your first question and put your telephone horizontally, then we will see you fully, okay? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's exactly good.
Okay, that's my first time, so I didn't know. So the first question I get asked a lot is actually, of course, what is Vaastu Shastra? And so how can we explain this to someone who has like no clue whatsoever about the subject?
All right, well, thank you very much. So we're going to go through the questions, and I'm going to be short because we're all spoiled on YouTube and we want 5 minutes about everything and then we're done. So we will try to follow their YouTube rules and spoiled audience. So anyway, so what is Vaastu Shastra? And how do you best explain it to someone who has no clue whatsoever about the subject? So Vaastu Shastra is a theory of ancient design and architecture coming from India. There are 2 different schools. They are similar, but they have differences. South Indian school of Vaastu Shastra and North Indian school of Vaastu Shastra. So every school on its own has its own literature, scriptures, ancient scriptures. I studied from South Indian architect Dr. Ganapati Stapati. There is his photograph. This is his autobiography. It's in Tamil. He was a Tamil well-known architect, Padma Bhushan. It means that he was awarded one of the highest recognition status of architects, who was basically recognized through in India and abroad for his work. And he wrote 35 books on this subject. And one of his most famous books is Stapatya Veda. So we will base our seminars and lectures based on this book. And it's a rare book at this point. Hopefully it will be available online. But because it is very technical, and it's difficult for people to grasp it just right away, there is another simple book, and this is the one I wrote based on his teachings. It's called Your Happy House, Illustrated Vaastu Shastra for Everyone. It is available online to be ordered, and so hopefully we'll bring some to Turkey. So anyway, so Vaastu Shastra is a theory of architecture, and there are many different theories. In Greece, we know, the Greeks, they built beautiful buildings and they used golden ratio and things like that. So what is specific about Vaastu Shastra? The specifics are actually in the structure of the space. In order to understand the subject, I had personally to study Vedanta, and Elise just introduced herself, and she said she had to study it as well, because there is so much terminology in it that without knowledge of these terms, it's difficult to understand what the essence of the teachings is actually. But I will try to reply in short kind of description. So Vaastu Shastra teaches about the structure of space, about the energy of the space, which is consciousness itself. And because the structure of the space is there, then by knowing the structure, we could implement this structure in our physical design of the buildings. So basically, we're plugging in our design, our building, into the blueprint of the universe. There is a fabric of the universe. So it has directions, dimensions, which are mentioned in Manasara. There are 7 volumes of this essence in Manasara, which is one of their source information books for professionals. And there is Maya Mata. That's another 2-volume book, and the rest was lost in time. So there is only partial part of the works of architect Brahmarishi Mayan. He was the one, according to Dr. Ganapati Stapati, that this architect Brahmarishi Mayan was at the base of the Vaastu Shastra. So he was the one who brought this knowledge to the earth, and many other masters also were teaching, but he was one of the main important masters, and he lived thousands of years ago. So Vaastu Shastra basically is the theory of architecture based on the structure and dimensions of space. Subtle structure can be seen only by yogis or evolved spiritual people. They can see that, but regular people like us, we can't see the structure. But we have the books and we have the knowledge how to plug in our buildings in it. So the essence is to understand that this is a theory, and it is connected to the structure of the space itself. So our buildings is not just the imagination of an artist, of an architect, but they follow the rules of the inner structure of the space. And if we put them into that structure, our buildings, then they will be resonating with the planet Earth, because they will be on the planet, and with the cosmos itself, because the cosmic structure is including the Earth itself. So Earth has its own position, and it follows its own trajectory, because it's in total balance with the energy of the space. So if we plug in our building into the energy of the Earth, there is a grid of the energy, and we will talk about that during our seminars, then we're by default, we're basically connecting our building to the universal energy. So we will tie into the energy of the Earth, and by that we will connect to the energy of the space. So this is the theory we are going to go through during our workshops, but it will be presented in a very simple and digestible way for everybody, not only for the architects, but for ordinary people who are just curious and they would like to have a happy house. It means house resonating with you, with your own energy. So it's happiness internal first, and then it will be basically manifest externally in the way how we feel about the space, how we feel about our own house. And most ancient structures, not only in India, but also in Iran, and I believe in Turkey as well, they were built according to these teachings. So it is universal teachings. And I'm actually replying on some questions below already by this introduction. So the second question Yulis wrote to me, what is Vaastu Shastra? Okay, how different it is it from the feng shui? Well, I wouldn't say that I'm not a master in feng shui. It is a Chinese practice of also energy healing of the space. But just only from the surface knowledge I have about feng shui, because I started with feng shui. But I moved to Vaastu Shastra because personally I found more information about the teachings of Vaastu Shastra than the essence of the feng shui, because it's I think a lot of information is lost, unfortunately, about feng shui essence, and it's mostly now relates to interior design, about placing certain objects in the interior of the house, which will create balance and harmony. So it's another kind of way of organizing the space. But Vastu Shastra is more architectural, and it looks into the essence and structure of the space and connects our structure of the building with the space itself, as I mentioned earlier. So the difference is that feng shui is more interior design at this point, how people practice it, as far as I know. And Vastu Shastra is more architectural. And of course, the interior design follows the architectural space created by architects. And then we can create a beautiful balance of interior and exterior with the universal energy and with the energy actually of people who are going to live in that space. And we have formulas how to calculate the space to make it resonating with you or with the city. So there are different levels and grades of creating this resonance of energies of people, of the planet, and the universal space itself or consciousness. So we're tuning up to their universal consciousness, actually. Our buildings are in tune with the energy of their own space, with the universal space, and it's total resonance. And it brings actually people, if they really want to, it helps them to grow spiritually, to realize themselves. So that is another answer about feng shui. And it ties in, of course, again to the essence of Vastu Shastra teachings. So number 3, is it solely Indian teachings or it is universal? So Dr. Sapati was always stressing out the point that it is universal knowledge. It is not Indian only. But why is it more known in India? Well, I guess because they were so good about saving their scriptures. And, in South India, especially, there are scriptures written in ancient Tamil language. And so they didn't get destroyed through their, years of history and evolution of people. But many cultures, unfortunately, lost the scripts themselves. So there are only legends left. So that's why it is difficult to determine is it universal or not. But if we will read these books and we will take the classes, we will understand that this is really universal knowledge, because many actually cultures, they have some essences coming from the same kind of source. And so the Indian Vastu Shastra has a broad representation in ancient scriptures. And if we will dig it out in our own cultures, we will find similarities. So that's why I think it is universal, and I'm sure about it. Yeah. So it's for everybody to discover for themselves when they will dive into volumes of this books if they want to. But if they want to know the essence, that they will come to our workshop and I'm sure they will be happy because these workshops were created and blessed by Dr. Ganapati Stapati before he passed away in 2011. And I started this courses with Shivananda Ashram in Europe, in California, in New York State, Canada, Bahamas, and in India as well. So now we're going to Turkey, and I hope people will enjoy it and they will discover something very interesting, uplifting, and very ancient, and something which connects to the modern life as well. So it is universal. Um, what is the history of it? Any mythological figures? So yeah, basically, yes, because all mythology actually connects to real facts which were in the past. And I believe that it is definitely the mythological part is not just some kind of fairy tale, because if it's a fairy tale, it will be forgotten by people. So if it has an essence and it's repeated and continued through generation to generation by some families, even like, for example, in India, they have chanting system and they chant ancient teachings in poetic form from generation to generation without losing the essence, because they knew that this ancient knowledge, people actually were more advanced than we are now. And we are, yes, definitely advanced technologically, but not spiritual, unfortunately, because we're focusing now on technology, which is artificial, but it's a production of our mind, and mind is really limited to only 5 senses. This is what Vedanta is teaching us. So this knowledge is going beyond our 5 senses to the level of subtle knowledge, from where all actually scientists are downloading information for their discoveries. So the all knowledge exists according to these teachings. All we need to do is just tune up to that, and people will receive information like yogis did in the past. For example, Mendeleev, Russian scientist who discovered the periodic system. I was blown away when my teacher in the 5th grade told us that he saw the periodic system table in his dream. I was like, how is it possible? Somebody will see this incredible structure in his dream, and he worked on this like for years and years, and suddenly he saw it in his dream, and here we are, discovery. But from this point of these teachings, you can explain that, because he was so focused, so such an incredible thinker about it. In his dreams, even thinking about this topic he was connected to, like chemistry. Yeah. So basically, he was so in tune with the knowledge that at one point, when his actual active mind was shut down in the sleep state, with his subconscious mind, superconscious mind, he connected to that knowledge and he saw the table in his dream. So a lot of discoveries happen like this, and people think, oh my God, it's just a miracle. Yeah, but it's not a miracle. Actually, through these classes, I will explain how thought process works and how the universal thought is the space actually with its own structure. So we're all interconnected. So what I would say that the mythological figure, the biggest one is Mayan. So Brahma Rishi Mayan. According to the mythology of or ancient texts, it would be more exact. There are texts like Maya Matam, for example. Maya is from Mayan. So Mayan was this ancient architect. His name is in many ancient epics of India, Mahabharata, Ramayana, his name is there. So he was already building and creating different structures, palaces, temples, underground actual structures, according to the rules of the universe itself. Where did he get this knowledge? So in Maya Mata, in the first sutras, actually in it's not Maya Mata, it's in Surya Siddhanta. That is another very interesting scripture, and astrology, Indian astrology is based on that actually. So Mayan, apparently, according to the legend or this story, he was a yogi and he was asura, but not asura who is a negative, this kind of demonic force. No, it was not understood properly by many people. That one yogi told me that the Mayan was actually a divine being, and Dr. Stapati was always stressing that out, that he was incredible divine being. So he was meditating, He did incredible penance, and it was recognized by the spiritual forces of the universe that this man is amazing. And so he was asked in this meditative state what he would like to have as a gift, and he said that he would like to have the understanding of structure of the universe and how life and the whole universe functions. So Surya, which is Sanskrit name for sun, gave him this knowledge through another divinity, because he said the knowledge is like a fire. It can fire you. Actually, if you're not ready for that, you cannot maintain this and contain and receive this knowledge, because you have to give a space. That's why spiritual growth is important, because when we are growing spiritually, we're actually expanding our inner space to receive the knowledge, because knowledge is a subtle space with vibrancy and periodicity, and it basically vibrates. So when we tune our inner vibration to the knowledge of the universe, then we receive this knowledge. That's how Mendeleev tuned himself, and he got the knowledge from chemistry. Yeah. So the Brahmarishi mind is the main figure in our workshops and in South Indian scriptures, and he lived according to the scriptures in Tamil ancient palm leaves. It says that he lived in the ancient land which sunken about 12,000 years old, which is links us to a very interesting discovery in Turkey, Göbekli Tepe. So this is very ancient site which was discovered not long time ago in Turkey, and estimated the age of this site is about 12,000 years old. Yeah, so it's like a very interesting information. And there is a very interesting book written, and I will bring it to Yeliz as a gift. And it's written by one interesting researcher from England, and it's called Magicians of the Gods. And I got this book recently from one of my friends. So it talks about Göbekli Tepe. So the idea behind this, actually this civilization of advanced civilization existed long time ago. And now idea that we were running with, this simple weapons and digging the ground, and we were like primitive as monkeys, it's actually might be not right. And I believe it's not right, because we wouldn't be able to build the structures with this precise knowledge, connecting to the solstices, understanding astronomy without incredible knowledge. So according to the legends and representation in archaeological discoveries, we can find out actually that people of that time were extremely advanced. So we are actually far beyond. Yes, we have our computers, our internet, but they could do it without internet telepathically, because they knew how, we work internally, and we lost that. So we are completely relying only on our, I would say, partial knowledge, and we think we're the top of their top. Yeah, unfortunately, I think we're awakening to this knowledge, and I think I'm sure these workshops will be a new impulse for architects in Turkey to understand and reevaluate their own ancient structures, own mosques and temples, because we will do this evaluation in Istanbul. I will specifically spend time on that to show you that your own structures in Turkey are ancient, the ancient ones, they are connected to the space, to the internal structure of it. And that's why people are still driven to these places, because they feel energy there. So we have to bring this back, this knowledge, and just expand and open our minds to that. So my angel lived in this age thousands of years ago, same time when this Göbekli Tepe was built. So this tells us that it was universal knowledge that people built the structures, and they knew something we're now trying to remember. So that is a legend. So Surya Siddhanta is the source of that information, and then Manasara Maya Matam. And so this legendary, incredible architect lived during those times. And so that land sunken actually now, and the latest discoveries of our sophisticated equipment and satellite images is showing now that there is a sunken structures in the south Indian Ocean, in the ocean of southern point of India, there are temples actually submerged. And after tsunami in 2004, some deities made of stone were brought to the shore of South India from the ocean. So there are temples there. And near Japan, there are temples, also structures built by people. South America, you know, a lot of things are still to be discovered. And so our generation, I think, we're the ones who are bringing back this knowledge back to people, to spiritual advancement, to establish more peace on our planet, mutual understanding of people, and understanding that we're really one consciousness. And so that's why we do yoga. That's why we dig in the ancient scriptures, because we want to be at peace. We want our children to enjoy our, you know, the time of life on the planet, because it's such a gift given to us. According to this teachings of philosophy of India, souls are waiting for thousands of years to incarnate in the body of a human being and to rediscover our inner essence and to become fully aware of the beauty and complexity of life. So, so we would like to link actually the ancient structures of Turkey, Istanbul specifically, to these teachings and to find this connection and to excite architects in Turkey. So, how did you get interested in this subject in the first place? Well, because I studied in Russia. I'm from Russia, St. Petersburg. I studied architecture first 2 years, and then I switched to engineering. I became a civil engineer. But I always had this dream to become more, I would say, more artistic in my work. And it's just, I really didn't want to become an engineer, but it's just my family situation. I had to move, and so I became a civil engineer. But when I immigrated to United States 27 years ago, I still had that dream to create something. So finally, I was able to go back to school in US, and I graduated with an interior design degree. And then I went to India because I wanted to create healing spaces for first for our mind and then for the body. And so that brought me to India. That's a longer story. I will give you that information when I'll be in Turkey, because we're already running probably a little bit longer than we thought. But it's hard to stop somewhere when you talk about this, because it's exciting and incredible subject, and people get interested around the globe about these teachings. So I got interested because I wanted professionally to have this basically knowledge embedded in my practice, and to create a happy spaces for people. And you get happy because the space itself, the building, will be designed and built with special dimensions, special directions of the space, and it will be in tune. So people feel that actually. You cannot not to feel the energy of the space when you go in such a building. And I'm sure Yeliz will design these buildings and will be very successful in Turkey. Will be the first one who will start designing ancient scriptures, will be implemented. Turkish even scriptures. Yeah, I'm sure there is something there to dig and connect. So it's going to be a big thing in Turkey. And so I got interested because I wanted to do something special for people on the professional level. That's what brought me to India. And now it's going around the globe. People teach this, and a lot of people go to India and in Europe. So we just dig into this information, and we want you guys to be all happy. And that's why we want this knowledge to be available everywhere. Anyway, number 6, is it considered a science or it's a fairy tale? I added that word. Science, I think it is a science. I am convinced it is a science, because the more I dig into the scriptures and I read some other Ayim Tiram scripture, which Dr. Stapati gave me as a gift, and we will talk about that in Istanbul. It will be a workshop about it, about this scripture, Ayim Tiram. It's basically the very essence of the structure of space. So if we will dig into that scripture, we will be convinced it is a science, because it is precise calculations of the dimensions of the building up to 1/16 of the inch. Yeah. So it tells me it is not a fairy tale if you really need to calculate space. It talks about the quality of the soil, of underground water, position of the building, slopes. So it does link us to our environment very with the strict rules. So to me, it's not a fairy tale. It is a science because we are connecting to our exterior basically by examining it according to these ancient rules and looking for the perfect place where we can build. Because they would even in India they would even have candles in this special way how to check it. If they flicker, then there are gases coming from the soil. It means it's contaminated, so we don't build there. So there are a lot of rules there. They're very, very simple actually, but we don't know them. And now we're going to teach them. So it is science to me. People make it as a fairy tale, unfortunately, because they see it as a source of making money. So they make up a lot of things and they would say, put like a piece of your hair in this corner and it's going to clear that. So to me, it's kind of like a voodoo stuff. So what Dr. Stapati was teaching, it was just the architecture and calculations and the very simple actually knowledge. So there is nothing fairy tale there. So it is science, and it's actually involves acoustics of space, and it's exact physics. So next question: what is that you think is the most vital in the subject? The most vital is that we are building, designing, and building spaces precisely calculated to the energy of a family. If it's a private house, for example. So we will estimate the energy of every person. There are formulas for that, believe or not, to calculate your own energy based on where you were born, when you were born, and what impact of the spatial energy made on your own personal being, you as a being. So that there are formulas how to calculate your energy and how to calculate the spatial energy of your building to make it resonate with you, with all members of the family, potentially. So the female was number one, actually, because she was mostly in the house in ancient times. So she was first in the calculations. So we will go through that in our workshops. I will teach architects and who is interested how to do that. That's the most important. So that's why I think that is the most important, that we actually do precise analysis and design of the building to link it to the energy of the live person, to the city, the sound of this, even the name of the city is there because we pronounce it, we create energy by pronunciation, the sound energy, and it goes through space. So if we create the subtle energy which is resonating with you, you would feel happy and you will be also healthy because you're energy being. So if you're drained by environment which is built randomly, that's what our builders do now, unfortunately, because the whole construction business is based on their potential benefit, monetary benefit. It's not necessarily about the people, unfortunately. And that's why we create ugly buildings which drain people on the energy level. That's why we get depressed. We don't understand why we don't like some spaces, even if they are beautifully decorated. We still cannot understand because we feel uncomfortable. So you will feel comfortable in this space. By feeling comfortable, it means mentally you are more at peace. If you're mentally at peace, then you're more happier. Yeah, your body functions well because you're actually uplifted. And so people don't know that, but they feel good about some spaces. When they feel good, that is the first basically a pointer to that space that it is healthy. When we feel good in our spaces, it means there is some rules are there. So maybe not all of them, but most important ones. So that is the most vital, to connect to the energy of the planet and connect to the energy of the space and to resonate with that. This is what we will do. And that is big, actually. So on all ancient temples of India, they were built like this, not randomly. They would calculate them. And I will talk about that at the university where we're going to give a lecture for the architects. And if they are students of yoga will be interested, they're welcome to listen to that too. So what do you think? Okay, so can non-architects join the workshops as well? Yes, of course. And I think it's the most essential if the non-architects will join, because the movement of this specific design will pick up if the ordinary people, not even yogis, just anybody, would like to have a comfortable, beautiful house where they would feel at peace, happy. Because if you will, you all people, you will know this, you will understand the essence, you will then ask the architect to design like that and say, I don't want this house where there is one side of the building has no windows, period. Yeah. There are buildings like this. So house is not breathing. So we don't feel comfortable, but we pay big money to design it, to move in, and then to experience disappointment. We don't want that. So that's why we invite everybody to know about this and then to ask professionals to design for you properly. Yeah, a happy house. So that's why everybody is invited, and the lectures and workshops will be designed in a simple way that this information is not going to be too complex and nobody will fall asleep. I will keep track on it. You are not going to sleep in my workshops. Okay, so but if somebody will be interested in more detail and professional, basically series of lectures, they're designed, and Yelis went through them and they're all recorded, so it's all possible to have this information in more broader format, more kind of toward the professional field. It is all designed and it's available. So we will talk about that. But everybody's invited because those classes they will be very, very simple, but very in-depth and with a lot of visual, digital media. So it's all going to be in PowerPoint presentation. I will have videos, so you will see the essence and proofs of these teachings as well, because I am a seeker and I wanted to make sure that it is not bogus, because why would we waste our time on something which is fairy tale? We don't want that. Yeah, we don't want to be misled. So I collected over this from 2005 to 2019, 14 years of basically search and collecting information which supports on a scientific level the ancient teachings of India, Vaastu Shastra. And you will see it will connect to the ancient structures of Turkey as well. All right, so what do you want people to get out of the seminars? I want you guys to get excited. I want you guys to dig more into that, yeah, after these seminars. I want you yogis to understand why you count your breath 4, 16, 8. Inhalation on 4, retention 8, or 16 retention, exhalation on 8. Why do we have this 4, 16, 8? Well, I will explain it during my workshops, because that's how universe actually pulsates. So we are inhaling energy of prana. We actually count our breath intake and exhalation, because there are deep teachings of this Vaastu Shastra are there, and they explain to yogis why they have to do pranayama in that specific way. Why is it good for you to open the energy of your body channels to the Vaastu Shastra teachings? Because the channels of the energy are there in the building, and we'll talk about that. And so how you as a person will connect with your own energy channel to the channel of energy of the building. So that is going to be exciting and very interesting, because it will be provided some visual information, not only the talk, but also we will do the experiments, because I designed the Vimana that was actually Brahmarishi Mayan designed Vimanas, ancient chariots for flying. Sounds like a fairy tale, but the more I study it, the more I understand it's not a fairy tale. It was there, just people were more advanced. So we will have a workshop on that. We will sit in the structure, in the sacred structure, designed and built according to these teachings. We will meditate and everybody will have experience. I guarantee you, 100%. Because I already went to this structure to different countries, and every single person had its own experience. So we will do that too, and then you will believe in it. Okay, and so the last question, what do we do if our house is completely off Vastu rules? Any chance to make it better? Yes, there is a chance to make it better, and we will talk about that, how to make it better. Of course, this science and teachings are how to build new houses, but we can make some changes, and we will talk about that a lot. And I know in India, there's a big business of making changes to the building to make them more vibrant. And a lot of this, unfortunately, not true, but some things are true. So we will talk about that how. But I will give you a tip. So you will take something from this video podcast with you listen me something useful for yourself. I will explain to you why during our workshops, but I will tell you, do not sleep with your head toward north. Nowadays, for some reason, people say you have to sleep. That is wrong. I found actually it was a Swami Shivananda. He was saint. He was actually Tamil as well. In his little book, it's called How to Get Deep Sleep. He explains why you have to sleep toward north, not toward north with your head, but to other directions. So I will explain that in detail why, because we don't have time right now, but it will be all explained during our workshops. And this book is very simple and it's illustrated beautifully. And I'm sure Elise is doing a great job translating it so people will benefit in your own language, in Turkish language. You will be able to read this book and get the essence. And that book is for everybody. So, and I think I have to finish because we're beyond our time limits, because I always say 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and bam, it's 30 minutes. But you get excited about it because you can't stop because it's so beautiful, so scientific, so ancient, and at the same time, it's connected to our life and we all can benefit from this. So I would like to give microphone to Yelis. Maybe she would like to add something or say goodbye before we turn off our broadcast.
Okay. Thank you. Do you hear me? Thank you for going through all the questions. Some of them were my questions, and some of them were I picked because I was asked a lot, and so I thought like people would be curious about them. So thank you for your time. I know that you wanted like 5-10 minutes, but as you say, we get excited about this, and yeah, we are very grateful that we are coming to our country. We are very much looking forward, not just me, but my friends and all the architects and yogis and yoginis. We are all preparing and working on it. And I think you left the link of the website, the Vaastu Shastra Turkey. So we're announcing all our lectures, seminars, and maybe, I don't know, some spontaneous also daily tours we can make. So please follow our events from Vaastu Shastra Turkey. So thank you so much for your time and for being our guest. We are so blessed. Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya.
Well, thank you so much, Yelis. Thank you. Yeah, we're all excited. Yelis and I were working on this for a long time, so we're sure it's going to be very interesting. Well, thank you. Looking forward to meet all of you and just to hug you all. I'm a hugger. Om Namah Shivaya. We will connect ancient Turkish buildings to these ancient teachings. A lot of architects will get excited. All right. Well, bye-bye. Thank you, Yelis. I really appreciate it. Looking forward. Bye. Bye.